So once again, everybody, my name is Zach Gorman. I am the co-founder and COO at RealReports. My colleague Dan McKeon is also on the call. He heads up our customer and client success. Please, if you do have questions as we go through, make sure that you put them in the chat. We are happy to answer any of those questions on the fly in the chat itself, and we will then circle back and answer any at the end, time permitting. All right, so let's get started here. Just a little bit on our team before I dive into RealReports, the product itself. We all come from the space. Our team has, decades of combined experience across some of the best companies and firms in the real estate space, on the brokerage side, on the MLS side, in the prop tech world. And we are also backed by some great investors across the real estate ecosystem as well. I say all this not to just throw a bunch of logos at you, but because this experience really matters. I think too often in the real estate world, we end up in situations where tech companies are trying to build solutions for problems that don't exist, and that's often the result of not having a lot of domain expertise, not actually coming from the space. Now, my co-founder and I previously started our own brokerage and prop tech firms, scaled those companies up. So we have a lot of domain expertise. Everybody on the company is licensed, and we're really, solving challenges. And we started the company for, based on firsthand experience as practitioners, as agents and brokers in the field. Now, I say this all in every session that we do. You all are the pros. I don't really need to remind you of any of this, but just to set the record straight, we all understand that the industry is constantly in motion. It's dynamic. We're increasingly seeing competitive markets as things go up and down. We're still trying to navigate all the new rules and regulations and policies. And what we see, and the biggest pain point and resultant effect of all of this, is that it's harder and harder for agents to truly differentiate their value. And that, of course, is incredibly top of mind for consumers nowadays. So our solution to this is RealReports. 30,000 foot view, just so that we're all sort of speaking the same language. You can think about RealReports as the AI supercharged Carfax for homes. Now, what does that actually mean? What we've done with RealReports is we've brought together comprehensive property information from, at this point, almost 70 different data providers. In fact, it's now, this number is out of date. It's more than 70 different data providers. This is outside of MLS data, and I'll sort of show you and unpack what data we're talking about here in a second. But MLS data is circulated widely. Everybody knows where to find it, but there's so much information about real property and real estate out there that is incredibly tedious to go and find. It's fragmented. It's not updated that often. It can just be inaccessible, period, without, paying high costs. So we've aggregated all of that information into one place, and we've made this available for every home and every property in the country. RealReports does work for residential, commercial, land, whatever you like. It presents a lot of practical ways to incorporate AI. I know everybody here is probably bored to tears about hearing, oh, the AI is going to change everything. Listen, it will, and it's starting to, albeit I think a bit slower than we all thought. But nonetheless, this technology is here to stay, and the practitioners that really embrace it now are going to be the ones who, it pays dividends for down the line. And I think we've really cracked the code about AI in our product. There's so much noise, so much buzz about AI, but you look at all of the different products and services offered out there that have AI as sort of their, lead feature, and it just ends up being sort of a bunch of gobbledygook. It just doesn't really end up landing or having a meaningful impact on your process or your business. That said, I think we have really found some very interesting and compelling ways that it does. So we'll unpack that here when I get towards the demo. Very importantly, RealReports is a product exclusively available for real estate agents. Again, we're all thinking about how do we provide value? What is our value proposition when we're talking to potential clients? If those folks could go get a RealReport off the shelf themselves, then that totally breaks down that system of trust and that system of value. So if somebody wants a RealReport, they have to go through you. And that remains, something very, very important and key to the product to this day. Now, when we talk about what data is in these reports, this is what we're talking about. I will spare all of you. There's simply just not enough time to read through everything that we've got in here. But as you scan this, you will see there's just, it is unequivocally the most robust data set that exists for real property. And, our whole philosophy is twofold. One, we want to make sure that we can answer every question that you or a client may have. We never want you to say, geez, I don't know. Let me try and go find that for you. Everything you need is going to be in Real Reports. And if there is something that's not in there, please let us know, because we're constantly adding new data providers in. That 70, different providers that I mentioned, that's up from this year, probably 50%. We probably 2x'd that. So we're constantly adding more data sources, not only so we can go very wide with the breadth of data, because you can see in here, there's stuff that you would want to know every single time you're working on a deal. Things like tax history, liens on the property, permits, zoning information, but there's also stuff that's very left field potentially, but it may be really relevant to your client. So, who knows? Maybe you've got somebody who wants to buy a property out in the sticks, out in the country, a little getaway for themselves, but they love their Tesla, they love their Rivian. So you're going to need to know where that nearest EV charging station is, because they don't want to get trapped, just in the middle of the highway with nowhere to go for that. So we just, no matter how big or small the question, we want you to be able to answer it, which is why we have so many data providers, so that we can bring all that information in here. And you can see at the bottom of the screen a lot of the different logos of those providers that we bring in. Public records, government data, first party, third party, private data sources, it's all in here. And again, that's not only so we can capture such a wide breadth of information, but almost more importantly, it's so that we can make sure that the data is actually accurate and reliable and up to date. Because again, real estate data can be quite fragmented. Some providers rarely update their sites, and sometimes you just can't even get access to the data to begin with. So everything you see in Real Reports is backed up by multiple providers. That redundancy becomes very powerful, because it doesn't make you reliant on one data source. Thinking about something like a valuation, first thing anybody sees or says when you're working with them in terms of buying or selling, they said, well, I saw this estimate and it said this. This estimate is just one of, hundreds and hundreds of very sophisticated valuations out there. And the reality is they all tell a slightly different story, because they're using different comps and math and algorithms in order to produce that. So that's just an illustration of why data needs to be coming from multiple sources. There is no single source of truth. You don't want to be reliant on one source of truth. So everything you see in Real Reports is backed up by multiple providers to ensure that you're getting the most accurate, reliable, and up-to-date information that is available. When you pull a Real Report, we go hit all of those different data providers at that exact moment and pull all of that information in a couple of seconds to put together your report. So again, it's the most timely information, as well as the most robust and high fidelity. All that said, you're looking at that list of data and your eyes are starting to glaze over, because it's just like, it's so much. And I would agree. It's almost too much. It is too much data. It's just too much. And the reality is, data is only valuable if you know what to do with it. I could give you a literal million data points, and again, you're just going to sort of throw up your hands and be like, what am I even supposed to do with this? Totally makes sense. That's where our AI starts to come into play. So powering every single Real Report is Aiden. You can think about it as your AI property advisor, co-pilot, however you want to frame it. Aiden has the ability to look at the data in the report and answer any question that you or your client may have instantly. It looks at all that data, analyzes, organizes, queries, and puts it all together for you. So all you need to do is ask a question and get an answer. This can be something very surgical, like how is this property zoned? Or it can be something more analysis driven, something that might actually take you a couple of hours, presuming you even have the data to begin with. Take something like rental potential. A lot of factors to consider there. Is it long-term versus short-term, cap rates, comps, trends in the area? There's just a lot of considerations before you're just crunching the numbers and doing the math, as you're getting started. So Aiden can just go into the data in the report and answer any question you have. It also has the ability to analyze photos. So whether you upload those or we're pulling them in on our side, it can look at those photos and give you different feedback and expertise based on that. One of our favorite features in the report from our users is the ability to summarize documents. I used to live out in California. I know what those sellers' disclosures look like. You can get served up like an 80-page PDF, usually poorly printed and lots of legalese in there. We just don't have enough time to make sure that we've got every single line item, every single fact and input from those documents totally top of mind. So you can upload anything like whether it's a disclosure, an inspection report, condo documents, meeting minutes. The AI, Aiden, will read those documents for you in the report, summarize everything you need to know, pull out all of those relevant and critical details, And then if you have more questions, you can ask it to sort of unpack and go another layer deep. So it's just really speeding up that process for you. One of my personal favorite features is the ability to generate an instant repair estimate. So if you upload an inspection report, Aiden will read that document, pull out all the recommended projects. You can customize it however you want. And then you can go get a local costed estimate for any of those renovations, repairs, and projects. And that's down to the parts, materials, labor, lug nuts, screws, as fine of detail as you want. And that can take you a matter of seconds. When the usual use cases, you'd have to call in a bunch of providers, get second opinions, have them all come through. This is something that you could actually negotiate and budget against, that you can get returned to you in 30 seconds. So very, very powerful. Aiden has the ability to do deep research. This is great for, questions where we might not have the data in the report. And that's not because we don't have the data in terms of, we don't have access to that type of data, but because Real Reports is really property specific. Take Relo, for example. If I've got a client moving from, Minneapolis to Orange County, the Real Report for that property in Orange County may not be, the Real Report's just not going to have that information about Minneapolis. It's got everything about the property in OC, property parcel and surrounding area, but Minneapolis just isn't included in the report. So now Aiden can actually go across the internet, find sources related to questions like that, pull them in, and you've got full transparency of where those sources came from, the full logic path of the AI. So it just allows you to do a much deeper layer and more sophisticated layer of research, if that makes sense for you. And of course, Aiden is fair housing trained. This is table stakes. If you're using anything in the AI world for real estate and it's not fair housing trained, you should really reconsider. So it goes without saying that our AI really understands those rules and regulations and will not sort of answer beyond the question if you're asking something that's out of base. And it is also multilingual. So this is great just from an accessibility standpoint. You've got clients who, English isn't their first language, whatever it may be. You can just talk to Aiden in any language you like. That can be both text and voice. So you can, talk into the microphone if you want, or just key it in on your phone, iPad, or desktop. Now, this is sort of trite to say, but I will continue to beat the drum here. Agents using AI will replace those who don't. Agents are not going to get replaced by AI. It's our firm position as a company that there is always going to be the need for a human at the center of this highly important emotional and financial transaction, potentially for the vast majority of people, the most important of their lives. Nonetheless, just like every wave of technology, the practitioners who really embrace those new and powerful tools up front are going to be the ones that just continue to inch their way forward and widen the chasm between them and the competition. For all of you, that what you need to be keeping in mind is you need AI that drives business, not BS. Because again, there's just so much noise around AI. And when you really look under the hood, more often than not, it's just writing listing descriptions, which, hey, that's a useful, quick thing that you can use AI for, but it's not enough. This technology is sophisticated at this point to do so much more for you, which I was explaining earlier in all the different use cases for our AI. So it's incumbent on you to really be, surgical with the types of tools that you're using with AI, because again, there's just a lot of pomp and circumstance out there, and more often than not a lot of substance. Now, let's come back to earth here for a second. Like with anything, AI is flashy and that's great, and we've got some awesome use cases for it, but we really have tailor-made Real Reports to have practical, accessible use cases that line up with your daily practice, daily workflows as an agent and a practitioner. So we think about these in 5 different buckets, but it's really meant to be a product that can touch all steps and phases of your buyer or listing lifecycle, as well as generating new business. But these are sort of the 5 categories that I want to touch on just to give everybody, a general framework. In terms of providing value to buyers, again, in light of Sitzer Burnett, all the lawsuits, everything that happened, in the last 18 months, we're all thinking about our buyers. We've got this sort of new way of the world where we're sitting down, we've got that buyer's agency agreement in front of us, and those buyers are going to be asking us, like, what do you bring to the table? Like, what is your value proposition? What are you going to be doing for me? You need to have a very clear and concise response to that. And Real Reports really can be part of your toolkit and a pillar of your process that you can present to them. It's just a great way to build credibility up front. You can arm yourself with whatever property knowledge you need wherever you're at in the process. But also, when you're sitting down with that buyer and you're not working together yet, you're sort of in that exploration phase. This is something that I and a lot of our users out there are saying, hey, when you work with me, every time we go on a showing, every time you go to an open house, anytime we're submitting an offer, we're pulling the real report for that property because we want to be as data driven, sophisticated, competitive, and strategic as possible. And knowledge is power, data is power. So, what a better product for us to position us that way than Real Reports, which aggregates more data about every property in the country than any other tool out there. So, it's just an excellent way to create that signal up front, and help you land those deals and really help draw a line in the sand of why you're going to be different than somebody's uncle who, maybe have got their license 20 years ago, hasn't done a deal in 20 years, but is offering them a really good deal on the commission. Like, it really does start to make a difference when you show that, like, hey, I'm knowledge, fact, data driven. Working with me is going to be a professional experience. I'm bringing a lot more to the table than just, these randos out here who, are seasonal at best in terms of their practice every year. You have ways to engage your clients once you're working with them in the product as well. And time and time and again, we're seeing people win their offers because they're being armed with this data up front. It's helping them submit more competitive offers up front, backed by all the data in the reports. Now, sort of switching gears on the list side, it's great for buyers, but we want it to be all encompassing for you. A lot of agents are using this as part of their listing presentation. What a better way than having all this information up front when you have that first meeting. Say, hey, this is what I know about your home. This is how we're going to be more strategic and price this better and make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. The Real Report is just a compelling asset to sort of include as part of that listing presentation. And again, it's just making it so cut and dry why working with you is different than working with somebody else. Because listen, at the end of the day, there's a lot of real estate agents out there that are not very data driven, that are not very sophisticated. And there are a hell of a lot of agents out there who don't use things like AI. It's, for better or for worse in our industry, AI is, all technology can be a bit slower to be adopted. So you all have this really compelling moment in time where you're, have access to tools that leverage that technology and are just going to make you so much more clearly the better option, and more competitive option when somebody's deciding who to work with. Now, it's great on the buy side, great on the sell side, but we also want to fill your cup. Again, I've been a practitioner for many, many years, and I understand one of the biggest, it's unique to our profession, but you have to be figuring out how you're filling your top of funnel. We need to fill your cup. It's the job of an agent is never over. You're working with clients all day long, but you also need to figure out where is the next one coming from. So we wanted to build a product that can help you really fill that top of funnel for yourself as well. So Real Reports is great for that. We've got some built-in prospecting tools, which are really great, which I can touch on when we get to our demo. A lot of people are sending these reports out to everybody in their network saying, hey, I've got the AI Carfax for homes. Are you interested in seeing it for your home or your property? Or maybe there's a home that you're interested in. A lot of people will just raise their hand because they haven't heard about something like this before. It's just a really great, unique value add and touch point for them. You'll also have access and the ability to put people in sort of a rotation of past clients to receive Real Reports on, a monthly or annual cadence, whatever you like, as a way to sort of keep them in the fold, because we all understand that, I think the statistic is 87% of agents or 87% of clients would work with their agent again, but some like abysmal number, like 12% end up doing it, oftentimes because they literally just lose your contact information. That's such a huge missed opportunity, and Real Reports are a great way to stay in front and top of mind with your past clients with information that's very relevant to them. Additionally, once you have a listing, you can use this to not only market that property, but also to pull in more leads. So we have a lot of agents who will share a Real Report on their website, social media, listing materials, wherever they're circulating information about that listing. You can see here on screen, this is an example of our open house sign-in sheet, which you can just print directly off of your Real Report, post out your open house. Everybody's going to scan that as they come through the door. All of those leads, anybody who looks at your Real Report, that is all fed back to you in real time. So you've got full names, email, contact information, phone number. And not only do you have those folks, as sort of a real-time list, a lead list, you also have detailed insights on what they're doing in the report. So it's a really great way to gauge activity and interest based on who's looking at my report, how often are they looking at it, when did they last come back. But it even goes further, where anything that they ask the AI, Aiden, which I mentioned earlier, all of that information gets fed to you. So you have this really powerful feedback loop of understanding who's interested, how to get in touch with them, and what do they care about, which can really help tailor and personalize your outreach when you decide to engage those folks. Now, I'll breeze through these next two because some of this I think goes without saying, but listen, in our industry, we're always trying to prevent buyer's remorse. On the buy side, it's the number one grievance that people have. We're always trying to protect our sellers. We're trying to protect ourselves. Like, this is an industry that you need to be, quite cautious in and make sure that you're doing great diligence and leaving no stone unturned. So Real Reports are excellent for this because you are leaving no stone unturned. You've got just the most immense wealth of information on any property that you like at your fingertips in a couple of seconds. This is great before submitting an offer, making sure that you've uncovered any red flags, or before you go to market, just make sure that you've dotted your I's, crossed your T's, leave no stone unturned, as I said. And I will share, because it's very relevant to why we started the company, but my co-founder, James, was trying to buy a place with his wife. This is years and years ago when we lived out in the Bay Area. They had an offer under agreement. They're celebrating. They're happy. They were, my co-founder's wife was pregnant. So they're sort of, taking that big next step, new home, all of that. Great. Offer under agreement. And then boom, they get rejected by 10 insurance companies for wildfire risk. Now, I understand, of course, in, the California area writ large, and everybody here is accustomed to this, this is becoming a bigger and bigger concern seasonally every year. And, I feel for everybody out in that area. It's just something that can't be avoided. This was, something that was still just sort of brewing, at least in the part of the Bay Area that they were looking at. And it's just information that they didn't have accessible to them. And that's quite a shame. I don't think I need to explain to anybody here what having an uninsurable property ends up looking like for you. So again, we just want to empower you with as much information as possible so that before you take those big next steps, you can, breathe easy and know that you've really done the deepest level of diligence that you possibly can. And lastly, this is just going to speed you up. Time is money, especially in this industry. So Real Reports are great for just every vector, speeding you up. Before you go on showings, you got that eager first-time home buyer. They're like, let's go see 20 properties this weekend. Hold on, let me pull the Real Report. Boom, boom, boom. 10 of those properties, they're not going to work for you. I'll be able to identify that in literal seconds with the content and data in these reports. It's going to help speed you up for, pre-listing, before prep, while you're prepping that offer, save you hours on document review using that AI summary piece that I mentioned earlier. So it's speeding you up. It's making you more confident, more strategic, more competitive. And it's also just making you not reliant on one data source, because again, there is no single source of truth. You don't want to just go, I think in our industry, the tendency is like, oh, I know where to go get that data. And you go to a place and then you're on your way. All fine and good. Although there's so much data in this report that would still take you hours and hours and hours of work, but you're not going to this data source and then double checking it against that one, against that one, against that one. It's just, this is, I wouldn't expect that of anybody, but that is in and of itself a bit of a fallibility. So again, with Real Reports, you're not only getting that information faster, but you're getting better information, more high fidelity information overall. And again, Real Reports really opens up. We have all of these great ways. It's really meant to be one product that provides repetitive value for you on the buy side, on the sell side, during the deal, post deal, after close, and as well as generating new business and prospecting. It's this ecosystem that really just lends itself to all these different vectors of your process. So there's of course more to unpack. We've got a lot of great training materials to sort of dig into each of these one by one, but not going to do that today. This is really meant to be a soup to nuts of the entire product. So just wanted to make everybody aware. It can always continue to come in handy because, we find that very, very valuable. All right, so quickly, I'm going to jump over to the product just so everybody can sort of see it. Again, we've been live with OC Realtors for about 6 months or so now, but the product changes all the time. We're constantly adding just more than just new data, new features, new improvements. So there's a lot of bells and whistles that I just want to make sure you sort of see the entire interface again. so you can sort of, see if there's anything that you haven't seen in a while. And for those of you who are brand new, to just get a better understanding of how to use the product and the interface overall. So quickly, what you're seeing here on screen right now, this is the dashboard. So I will explain how you get access to Real Reports momentarily, but when you land on our product, this is what it looks like. You've got a bunch of different navigation stuff over here on the left-hand side. All of the reports you've pulled in a list down here, you can look those up and dig in on any metrics and insights you want to find. Tons of links to different educational materials. You can also get to our Education Hub by clicking this Education Hub button. That brings you over to a living document that we're constantly adding new material for. It's got a lot of great information, tons of webinars that we've done in the past. So all of those different use cases, new features, things like that, you can go in here and find that information, breakdowns of use cases, 101 walkthroughs. So there's a lot in there. I appreciate you all joining and listening to me yap today, but you may not be able to schedule this all the time. So we try and keep this really up to date with lots of new information so that you can, on your own time, go and learn more and more about the product. When you do want to get a real report, we make that very easy. All you need to do is enter an address here. So I could type in 2700 Moraga Street. I click on that. I choose what tier of the report I want, and I'm on my way. I can also look up reports on this map here by parcel, or I can also look up by APN. This is great for unaddressed land, rural properties, things like that, where sometimes address just doesn't make the most sense. So all you need to do is switch over to APN, drop that in, and you're good to go. Now, this is what a real report looks like. And again, for everybody here, just sort of a lay of the land. Let me resize my screen here just a little bit. Actually, we'll keep it wide. So again, this is a real report. On the left-hand side here, you've got all of your different data types. So you can keep this closed if you like, hover to see what those are. Otherwise, you can open it up. You've got all this massive list of all these different data types. There's sub-menus underneath. Again, it is quite robust. To get to any specific section in the report, all you need to do is click on that section. So let's say I wanted to go to the zoning section. I'll click on zoning. The report scrolls me down. Here I am on zoning. Got it. That's great. You will also see on the right-hand side here, that map updated when I went to this section of the report. It turned on the zoning map layer, so I can click in here and get additional information, but the map is content aware, so it knows what I'm looking at on screen. It will update and enrich itself with additional information. And there are dozens of map layers in here, so a lot more information and data just on the map itself that you can unpack and look at in addition to what's in the report. If I want to get to other sections, again, I can click on them or I can just scroll up and down. It's very easy to do. Now, back up here at the top, next to the address, some really key features. First is sharing. We want to make sure that you're able to share this report with clients, leads, whoever it may be. Make it very easy to get that in people's hands. So I can click on that and you can see I've got a lot of options here. I can just copy that link. If I'm just writing up an email, that's fine. Copy, paste, send, great. You can send an actual email directly from here. So instead of having to go into your CRM, you can just type in a quick message, email address, boom, shoot it off. I can download a QR code that links back to this report if I want to use that in any printed materials, digital materials, however you like. Text message, you can do that from here as well. And again, I did mention that this works great across desktop, tablet, mobile. So you can use it on the go. You can use it at your desk, wherever you want to be. You can also just share directly to socials, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, all that's in here. That lead capture piece I mentioned, when you turn that on, anytime somebody looks at a report that I've shared, they have to give their contact information. I get all of those insights. That's a toggle away. I can turn that on. I can turn that off if I'm just using it with a client and I don't really care about what they're doing in there. I just want to share it with them. Or I can just turn sharing off entirely and I'm just using this internally for my own purposes. So a lot of different options there, but we want to make that very easy for you. Next up is printing. Of course, we allow you to print out the report. I will say that this is, a tech product, tech web-based product, and it really sings and shines being used in that way. Of course, if I've got paper materials, Aiden, our AI, property advisor, that's not going to work on there. But listen, we want to meet you where you're at. We know agents like to have materials in front of them, whether that's at the listing presentation, at an open house, whatever it may be. So we make it very easy to print this out if that's what you're more comfortable with or that's what you want. We'll give you a branded cover page. things, marketing materials like an open house flyer, like I showed you, so that you don't have to go and do that yourself or build out those templates in Canva. We'll give you a 2 to 3 page summary of the report, something short and sweet and concise that you can just print out, distribute lots of different, print out multiple versions of that. And then if you want the full Monty, the entire report, it's very easy to go in here and just check things on. You can turn it all on if you want, though caution, there's probably every report could be like 80, 90, even 100 pages. So we default that off. But if you're like, listen, my investor client really wants a deep dive into the long and short-term rental, financial information, tax information, then go print out all of the details there, in addition to the supplements you will get above. Now, sort of in line with that thinking about customizing, figuring out exactly how you want to present this report, we want you to be able to tell the story you're trying to tell about this property. So we make that very easy at a higher level as well. If there are any sections that you want to hide or reorder, you have all of that customization here. And again, how I got here is click this little meatball menu, order invisibility. Now I can easily go section by section, drag them up, down, move them around, turn them on and off using little eyeballs over here. It's very, very easy to do. You may just end up finding that, you have a certain order that you like to present data with. It's not even about what sections do you show or not. It's just like, hey, I really like to have schools up top, whatever it may be. So you can always change default settings. This will take you to another area of your dashboard where you can say, anytime I pull a report, I want it to come out in this order. That way you don't have to do it every single time. It's a lot to remember. It's a lot of things to move around. So you can do that at sort of a global settings as well. Now, right below that, we've got your branding information. Of course, we want people to know who's providing this value to them. So the first thing anybody sees when they get a report is your information. So you've got a space for your name, photo, of course, where you work, all your contact details, links to listings, reviews, your website, social media links, license information, all of that stuff, easily customizable. You can just put it in there. You can add any notes that you want to the report. Every section also allows you to add notes. So if there's something specific on the permit section or specific on the lien section, you can just add individual notes. But this can be high-level information that you want somebody to see right out of the gate as well. Over here on the right-hand side, this is Aiden. This is that AI property advisor I mentioned. So very easy to go in here. All I need to do is ask any question, and Aiden will look at the data in the report. So I can ask it something like, how is this property zoned? Now, something important to keep in mind, again, with the AI is, if you've used tools out there like ChatGPT or Perplexity, all these different third-party LLMs and AI tools out there, they are great, but number one, the differentiation is they do not have access to all of the data that we have in this report. Again, a lot of the data that we're pulling in is coming from private sources, and something that AI cannot just go and scrape off the internet. So you're already just getting way more data and higher quality data with a product like this. But more importantly, we've taken a lot of care and consideration to not only make sure that our AI is fair housing trained, but that it is also not hallucinating. So the AI just looks at the data in the report and reports that back to you and organizes it and analyzes it however you need, but it's not making stuff up. You can always go down to that section of the report to confirm things like that. So I'll go back down to that zoning section, and we can see, I asked the AI, how's this property zoned? It told me RH1 40X, that's the code. It says single family residential use. I can see all of that here in black and white. We always want you to have that transparency. You can see where the data is coming from. You can see the data itself. Over time, rather than looking through all these charts, tables, graphs, etc., you'll become more familiar with the AI and just be able to be like, great, I just want to ask my questions and be on my way. But you always know that the AI, again, is just the mouthpiece for the brain that we've assembled with these 70 plus different data providers all in one place. On that note, if I add anything like property photos, property documents, things that I add to my report, the AI is not trained on that data, nor do we share that information across the ecosystem. So if I uploaded these photos, which I did, I used to live in this home. If I uploaded these photos, I uploaded this inspection report, which I had for the property. And then let's say my colleague Dan also pulled the report for 2700 Moraga Street. He would not see these photos. He would not see this document. Every instance of the report is siloed to you, private to you, and people you share it with. but any information that you add would never be accessible or available to people pulling the same report for that property. Now, other pieces here, I'm going to fold up Aiden while we go through. You've got your property photos. So we will pull in photos from the MLS for live listings, but you can upload any that you have as well. Photos from an inspection. It could be, blueprints or anything that you've got from staging, anything that you want to have in here. It's easy to upload, and you can have the AI look at those photos as any questions come up that you want to look at those photos for. Property documents, as I mentioned, I had the inspection report for this property, so I uploaded this earlier. This has a full end-to-end look of that document. I happen to know is about 40 pages long. So I've got a great quick summary of everything in there. Very important to note, disclaimers, they are all over this product. We want to make sure that you and your clients are always protected and your firm. So there are disclaimers everywhere in this product. When you first use it, when you first use the AI, every document on every report, and that is the same for the consumer facing perspective as well. So rest assured, we've gone through a tremendous amount of legal work, and we've now launched RealReports with over 50 MLSs and brokerages across the country and have never had a single issue. So you can always feel good and confident with that regard. But anyways, this is the inspection report summary. Again, you can upload any property document you want and get that full sort of like, let me know what are the most important details. Those will bubble up to the top. If I've got more questions, I can always go to the AI and ask it a question about that specific document. All right. I do want to be sensitive of time here because we have a bit more to get through once I'm done with the demo, but just some other things to take note of. I'm going to try and give you the 60, call it 1 or 2 minute version of the report contents, just so you can really internalize all of the information in here. So starting at the top, we've got valuation. We always allow you to provide your own opinion of value, so you can add that in, min, max, or just one if you'd like. We also pull in a lot of different valuations. So you can see here, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different valuations for this property. And as I said earlier, you never want to be reliant on one data source because these are all saying, in some cases, pretty different things. Now, we give you a confidence-weighted aggregate of all 7, in this case, of those valuations, which is always going to be probably the fairest shake about the value of that property. But again, if you have a different opinion of value, you've done your own market analysis, just pop that in here. That becomes the authority for that information. Next up, we have a CMA built directly into the product. You don't even have to go to another product that you use. That's all in here. You get property, condition, and quality scores. You can go in here and understand better what that all means, the confidence interval for those. You've got all of your comps listed here. So I can go into full screen mode and I can see, all right, I've got my subject property, all of my comps. I can choose if I want to turn different comps on and off, select which ones I'm displaying. It's very easy to do. We give you our best 15 sourced from all of our different data sources put into one place. And the thing that I love about this is not only you gain all the public record information, the side-by-side, we also give you those quality and condition scores with photos for each room in the house. So exterior photo, living room, kitchen, bathroom. So you can really quickly side-by-side all of those different particular rooms in the house and better understand how do they compare and contrast to one another with this additional visualization and data of quality and condition ratings and whether they're better or worse across each of those different ones. So I just think definitely build a better mousetrap there. CMAs have been around for a long time. There's some great products, don't get me wrong, but this is all just built into your Real Reports. You don't even need to go anywhere else. It's all in there and it's all feeding off the power of the data in the product. We'll give you a bunch of insights. We'll show you where the comps are on the map. You also have owner information. So this includes sell score rating, propensity to sell. Again, I mentioned we have a lot of folks who are using this as a prospecting tool. So I can see all the different parcel boundaries in the area. I can click on any of these, get the Real Report for them. But I've got the sell score for this owner, confidence interval, the factors motivating that sell score. I've also got a full talk track. If I want to use this to reach out to that person and potentially engage them, I've got all of this information basically inform me of like, what should I be thinking about when I reach out to them? How should I position my outreach? Because that's really important. You don't want to just show up to somebody effectively empty-handed and know nothing about them. This actually gives me a lot of insight. It's like, okay, it's telling me the homeowner may be open to selling, but likely isn't in a rush. That sell score, 5 out of 10. Okay, it's not not going to blow it out of the park. It's suggesting keep the relationship warm, share updates and trends, but this is like a no pressure kind of outreach. You're not trying to get their business right now because they're likely not going to be selling with you. But if you start to really nurture that relationship with value up front, then maybe there's an opportunity there. It has some other information here that's, again, feeding into this. They may not understand how much equity they have in the property. So that's a great way to sort of position, hey, did you know this? Here's some more value. Here's some more data. They have a great, a decent mortgage rate. So moving could mean an increase in monthly cost. Again, you're just getting sort of this talk track of ways to reach out. We also give you the contact information. So if you want to actually engage that person, phone number, email address, if we have it, mailing address. We make it very clear, though, because we don't want to lead you astray. If that phone number is on the DNC list, we will show you. We'll make that very explicit to you because you always want to make sure that you are abiding by the regulations around do not call registries. More owner information, liens on the property, owner's equity, all of that's in here. Permit information as well as permits in the area, but a full permit history of the property. Zoning information, which we already discussed. Long-term rental potential, a bunch of different HUD programs like home program activity, fair market rent, section 202, comps, cap rates, trends, short-term rental if you want to Airbnb or Vrbo the property, occupancy rates, cap rates. And you can actually see homes that are live on Airbnb, different comps that are similar to this property, how they're being marketed, how they're being listed. Tons of financial information. So loan and transaction history, tax records, tax rolls, tax information, tax history, FHFA conforming loan limits, things like location affordability index, tons of neighborhood details, points of interest, national recreation site, congressional districts, federal lands, a bunch of noise, aviation, railroad, protected areas, all of the different POIs that you'd expect in the area, neighborhood scores, school district information, nearby schools and ratings, opportunity zones, is the property in one or not, an immense amount of property characteristics, home performance features, site and location details, utility estimates. So this can be electricity, natural gas, solar install estimates, HVACs, mini split, in government incentive programs, internet providers and speed, proximity to cell towers, mobile coverage and providers, remodel estimates, environmental details, so flood information, are you in a flood zone, premiums, insurance premiums for that, average daily weather, CAL FIRE data we've got in here, climate zones, coal mines, dams, environmental health, faults, sort of everything that you'd expect in a natural hazard disclosure. All that information's in here. Radon and air quality in the area, news and media, census and demographic information, crime information, market trends. Again, it goes on and on and on. There's so much in there, and that's by design. And there's going to continue to be more and more information in the reports as time goes on. That's why the AI becomes so powerful, because you just ask a question and you get an answer. Now, really quickly, just to wrap up, because I want to make sure you all have some time for questions. It's important to note there are 3 tiers to the report: snapshot, buyer, and seller. You can think about them as good, better, and best, more data, more features as you go up. Now, all of you have benefits as OC Realtors and members. You all get a free Real Report subscription. Normally, that would cost you $120 a year. That's just free to you. What that comes with is unlimited of our snapshot report. And don't get it twisted, that report is quite substantial. There's an immense amount of information in that snapshot tier. Uncapped, not geo-fenced. You can go get it for any home in the country. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when. You can go get those all day long. And we find that, a lot of the users of Real Reports spend about, at least over half, if not up to 80% of their time at that snapshot level. So they're using that all the time. Really, when you want to go get those buyer and seller reports, which you get a great discount on, you have a specific use case. You're about to submit an offer. You're listing a property and you want to generate leads. You want to make sure you're doing the deepest level of diligence. That's when it makes sense to say, like, hey, I'm going to spend a couple of bucks to go get more business or ensure that I've done the deepest level of diligence I can. Everything's branded for you. You get all the premium bells and whistles, document and photo analysis, things like that. We will also automate reports for your listings. This is something you have to opt into when you use the product, but we make that very easy. What that does is anytime you have a new listing, we just send a report directly into your inbox. You've got that right time, right place. You can start using it to market the property however you like. So that, again, that's something you opt into, but it makes it very easy once you do. Now, in terms of getting started, very quickly, the sort of step-by-step is you're going to want to click the Real Reports icon from your RE Core dashboard. Now, if it is not there, you're going to want to click this little red button over here on the right-hand side. This will now allow you to go and find Real Reports in your list of additional products. scroll down, find Real Reports, add it to your dashboard. Once it's there, it's a click of a button. You're in our product. It's very, very simple. An account's created for you automatically. All you need to do is enter an address, select what tier of the report you want. Again, that snapshot is completely free to you, or you can upgrade to those higher tiers whenever it makes sense, and you're off to the races. So very, very easy to get started. Last bits here, just in terms of expectations from our side, I always think this is important to really, reiterate anytime we're talking with users of our product. We have very fast and responsive support. Dan, who is on the call right now, he's going to be point man. He's going to be able to answer any question you need. We get back to you within minutes. This is not, the sort of usual SaaS prop tech company out there where you're not hearing back ever, or it's weeks or it's days, whatever it is. We're getting back to you really fast. And with that, we want to know how we can make this product better for you. So please let us know. We have thick skin. There's always room to improve. What new features, what new data, how can this be better instrumented into your daily workflow? We want this to be the best product it can be, but we need your feedback. So don't be shy. Let us know what we can do. We're always happy to do more webinars like we've done today. We run a curriculum of trainings every month. If you go to that education hub, which I mentioned, we always have our upcoming webinar listed right here, and all of the past webinars and recordings that we've done here as well. And that's that education hub, which I got right here. And I think that is about it. I know we've got 10 or so more minutes, so happy to take any questions. Thank you all for the attention today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Zach. Couple things that I think we were able to answer most of them here in chat. So I'll just run through super quick. And the layout here is a little bit different than I'm used to, so please bear with me. There was one question about, is there a mobile app? So not an app, everyone, but it is mobile responsive. So you should be more than equipped to do it on the fly from your mobile device. A question about permits and those being updated, and I explained that yes, we will be able to pull as updated permits as possible, right, Zach? I think that kind of varies, kind of location to location, county to county, but we do have multiple providers, and this is one of the benefits of having as many providers as we do. Is if we're lacking in data in some regard, we might have a backup source available as well. So I think to your earlier point, we do have the highest fidelity set of data in the industry.
Yeah, an important note on that for everybody here. If we don't have, let's say the permits are a great example. Sometimes the permit records are in a file cabinet in somebody's basement somewhere. They haven't been digitized. They're literally in a file cabinet. Obviously, nothing we can do about that. We're pulling data from providers that are able to access APIs. That data is available electronically. So in those cases, we may not have that data in the report. Fortunately, it's very few and far between. That said, the AI, Aiden, is sophisticated enough to understand that if there are no permits for that property, it's not going to just say blanket like there's no permits, because that might not be true. So it'll say, hey, I'm not seeing any data for those permits, but here are the places that I would suggest you going to see and ensure that for yourself. So again, data is not perfect in this space. I can say with a high degree of certainty we have the highest fidelity data and information out there because of our whole philosophy around adding more and more data providers. But in the cases that we don't have something, you have sort of your next steps of tracking that information down.
Yeah. And then there was a question about owner information. So explain that that's available in the seller tier. Also gave them a quick shout out to our education hub and linked that report tier breakdown content there. And then just repetitive questions regarding just recordings and things like that. We will absolutely be following up to everyone with the recording, as well as deck and any Q&A that came out of this. So
yeah, Elsie will provide that to all of you. It'll be on the OC Realtors YouTube page. She'll send along the recording. She's got access to this deck as well, so you'll have all of those materials.
Awesome.
Cool. Was there anything else?
That's it.
Great. I think we're all set then, Elsie. Thank you all so much for your time today. Really appreciate everybody's attention. I know there's a lot of information here, so please dig in. Again, don't be shy. Our contact information, I will just drop that into the chat. That's me, Zach at RealReports.ai. Dan will drop his in as well. Don't be a stranger. Talk to us. Let us know what we can do to improve. Really appreciate everybody's attention today. Hope you all have a great rest of your week.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.